Hey, welcome everyone. This is your guy, Mr. Choco Guy in Japan, and welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to talk about how to get an English teaching job even if you're not a native English speaker here in Japan. So guys, stay tuned. I know you want to go here in Japan. You want to experience the Japanese culture, eat a lot of Japanese food, maybe have fun and tour around Japan. So you wanted to be an English teacher as a leverage of coming here, or you just wanted to explore your future, maybe an opportunity here in Japan. So whatever your reason, you wanted to go here. And the easiest one is to become a teacher. However, you're quite hesitant because you're not a native English speaker. You're not from the US, Canada, or Australia. Now, can I get a job even if I am not a native English speaker? And the answer is yes. I myself is not a native English speaker. I came from the Philippines. So I am a 100% Filipino by blood, and I speak Filipino Bisaya language. And I'm not a native, but I get a job as an English teacher here. So it's also possible for you. So how can you get a job? So we will talk about when is the best time to apply, what companies, what are the requirements needed, and some tips for you to get the job. So stay tuned and let's start.
Okay, now let's start up with the requirements. So if you're not a native English speaker, you need to have at least a degree of like a 4 years, a bachelor's degree that you studied 4 years in. With even if you're a native, you still need a 4-year degree course. You need to finish it. And for a non-native, aside from a degree, of course, you need to be fluent enough in English to be able to teach it, as well as have at least 12 years of English education. And that's the most important part, because like in the Philippines, we have more than 12 years of English education because most of our subjects are taught in English, except for Filipino, history, and other subjects that needs to be taught in Filipino. Aside from that, everything else is in English. So
Giving that in mind, we have more than 12 years of English education. You just need to send them the proof that your curriculum is using English as a curriculum to teach subjects. Aside from that, other documents that you might need to prove, like your proof of your graduation, your diploma, your grades, all of those are needed for the documents here. I think that's the only thing you need to. And also sometimes you have to send them a letter of why you wanted to work here in Japan if you're from outside. I'm not really sure about that because I get the job here in Japan. Yeah, a degree, 12 years of English education. Next, it's experience. So of course, some of the company, not just only in Japan but also outside Japan, needs experience. So some company might not need much of an experience, but in my case, I've taught English for 2 years in the Philippines. I've taught Japanese, Chinese, and Korean as well. So I've used that as a leverage for me to be able to get the job. Yeah, but if you don't have experience, it's okay as well, as long as you're willing to learn, and it really depends on the company if they're willing to teach you and if they saw an opportunity from you. The second one, so the second one is, when should I apply? So though Japan is looking for English teacher all around the year, there are still a perfect time for you to look for the job because it's quite helpful. Okay, if you're a student here in Japan, like me, I recommend start looking for a job around October, because all Japanese, even though Japanese do the same thing, around October, because that's the time that the company was actually looking for employees. So by that time, you will be needing a lot of papers like your graduation, your diploma, the proof of your 12 years education. So it might take quite a long time. That's why starting from October, you must have passed the interviews and then start getting your documents from your own country. So that's what I did, because around December it's there is no class. I think it will be a yasumi. Our yasumi is like vacation, so it will be hard to get the documents. I think also it will be the same in your country. So okay, it's okay if you start processing around January or February, but mind you, the processing might of your visa might take around 1 month or 2 months, and the worst case 3 months. So in that case, you might have to work late. You might not get your visa around April, and you need to start working around April. So my case, I processed the visa around January. I get the visa around March, around the middle of the March, just right after my graduation and just right before my birthday. So yeah, those are the best months to find a job when you're here as a student. I think it's the same thing when you're outside Japan, because it's still the same thing. Japan is looking for job around those months, and you will be needing to process your documents and sending them here in Japan. And it will take quite a long time to process your papers as well. Remember, you have to prepare yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and financially. So that's why you need to process it that in those times. I think it will be the best. Pew! Next is, what are the companies or program should I enter prior to becoming a teacher? So there are several companies, so there are several programs. Like the AJET program, the JET program is teachers who are directly hired from the government. So how can you apply for it? I think you need to go for the Japan embassy in your country, or if you have one near your city, you might probably be lucky. So go and apply there. You can also go through their link. Just search JET program in the internet or Google, and you can get them. Okay. Next are the ALT, which I am in right now. The ALT stands for Assistant Language Teacher. Still the same with JET. However, we are from the company, from a dispatch company. So there are a lot of dispatch company around Japan. And one of the biggest one is Interact, Nova, ECC, Borderlink. But there are several things you have to research more about those companies, because there are negative and positive sides, and it's up to you to think if you're willing to risk the odds of coming here. So most of those company do hire teachers from outside Japan, and yeah, try your luck applying to them. They will probably reply to your applications if your application is good enough for them.
Okay, the next thing you have to be careful is the rules from your own country. For example, the Philippines, we have this called the anti-hire direct hire ban law,
which does not allow a company here in Japan to directly hire Filipinos from the Philippines. So you cannot go directly apply in a website of a company here in Japan and just be interviewed through Skype and then process your papers and go here in Japan. Cannot do that in the Philippines as a Filipino. So this is actually to protect us from scams and companies who would abuse people with less knowledge about Japan and things like that. So, but that doesn't mean you, as a Filipino, you can't be a teacher here. So there are ways like the Interact, or the company I said before. The Interact has a sister company in the Philippines, which is called Chisam, and they are legitimized, or a legal company in the Philippines that has been authorized by the POE.
As a company to hire Filipino teachers to be dispatched here in Japan. So you can go and check the Interact and Jasam, maybe that one. So you can check it out. So, or yeah, that's if you're from a different country, maybe you don't have that kind of rules. So it might be easier for you to come here, and there's a lot of companies here in Japan that actually hire teachers from abroad. So
be careful of the rules. Okay, last but not the least was your resume. Okay, make sure, I'm not a person who's perfect in English. I make grammar and spelling mistakes, and everyone does. So when you send an application, make sure to double check, triple check it as well. And in your cover letter, make sure you include your willingness to be part of the company, to be able to work here in Japan, your enthusiasm to be able to become a teacher, and experienced teacher or not so experienced teacher, whatever it is, you should show your enthusiasm to work with them. I think it's a common sense, but it's quiet being a big thing for a company to hire you here. It's more about personality and how can you, because you'll be dealing with Japanese and there will be language barrier. So personality will be needed to shine the most. And also, prior to coming here, although you're an English teacher, I get it. Some people who are like, I don't need to learn Japanese or things like that. But you're here in Japan, try to learn the basic one as well, like being able to read hiragana, katakana, being able to say ikura desu ka, or doko doyate ikimasu ka. Simple thing that could help your daily life be easier, because it's gonna be hard coming here without prior knowledge to the language, and it's hard for you to communicate. But for example, like me, I can speak Japanese, so it's easier for me when I'm doing the lesson, when like I need to talk to the teachers, stuff like that prior to the lesson. If I want to do something like a new activity, they would be willing to listen to me, because I can explain the activity pretty much easily in Japanese. So I think if I would try to explain that in English, yeah, as I tried several times already, they will think like, oh, I think it's very difficult. I think the student cannot do this, but the activity is quite easy. So it's just that you're having a hard time to explain to them how to do the activity. So yeah, having a Japanese knowledge is very, very important, not just with your work, but also with your daily life here in Japan. Lastly, I would like to say thank you to these people for the shout out. So guys, if you wanted to be shout out for my next video, please comment down below, and I will do a post on my Facebook page about shout outs. So thank you very much. So again, this is Mr. Choco Guy in Japan, and please follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, on here, subscribe, as well as please like and share this video. If you know someone who needed this video, please tag them, share it to them. Thank you. See you.